There are now nearly 7.5 million cases of COVID around the world, with 2 million of them being in the United States. Well, as lockdowns around the world continue to come down, we can see there is also at the same time growing concerns of a second wave. Well, let's just have a look at the map here where we can see these cases here which are dotted across the United States. And despite this unwanted significant milestone, President Trump has today called for businesses to reopen, a response that's been attacked by the top Democrat, Nancy Pelosi.
There's one word we should all be saying over and over again: testing, testing, testing. We're not even close to what we should be doing on a daily basis. The scientists, academics all over the country are preaching this. But the White House has not responded. And we must insist upon it in this legislation. Testing, tracing, treating.
Well, for more on this, let's go over to Washington now, where we can speak to our reporter, Ray Suarez, who's on Capitol Hill for us. Ray, as we were saying there, another unfortunate milestone for the United States, but is this going to do anything to sort of, slow down the lifting of lockdown restrictions?
No, it looks like those are going to move ahead, at least until there is a kind of citizen backlash against it. Along with passing that 2 million milestone, we've got 115,000 people dead in this country and 1 million active cases of COVID-19. And states that have started to reopen, like Florida and Alabama, are posting large new infection numbers as well. This should be building in a bit of caution, but there is tremendous demand among people who want to get out, who want to get back to work, who want to start making some more money, because the federal government has also been reluctant to extend any new benefits to people who have been idled by the disease and the subsequent lockdown. So a lot of different parts of the United States, this big clanking machine, working at cross purposes with each other this week as people watch the new infections rise and wonder where it's all going to go. And the stock market isn't taking any chances. The Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500 are both down on fears of a new rise late in the summer or early in the fall, and a lot of new virus infections. Tokes?
Right, the political focus seems to have shifted sharply towards these protests regarding racism and police brutality across the United States. Donald Trump in particular has been attacked over his response. And now we learn that a top general has come out swinging. Tell us more.
Well, just last week, Secretary of Defense Mark Esper, the senior civilian overseeing the United States military, risked being fired by the president by publicly coming out and saying he disagreed with any intention to put troops on American streets, especially in Washington, D.C. Now, the top uniformed general overseeing the armed forces, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, in a speech to National Defense University graduates, said that it was a mistake for him to accompany the president from the White House to St. John's Church after the square had been cleared by troops and by police using pepper spray, tear gas, and, frankly, brutality to clear that square. He said he shouldn't have been there, that it created controversy about the involvement of the military in domestic politics. He told the National Defense University graduates, as senior leaders, everything you do will be watched, and I am not immune. It'll be interesting to see if the president reacts to this daylight between him and one of his senior generals.
Now, if the intrigue isn't thick enough, the president is planning to begin a series of rallies on June the 19th. Tell us what's so significant about that date.
June the 19th, 1865, is the date that the last enslaved African Americans in the United States found out that they had been liberated by the Emancipation Proclamation of Abraham Lincoln and by the end of the Civil War. This was long after the Confederate States had surrendered, long after the troops had laid down their arms. there were still skirmishes and fighting and active Confederate troops in the far western state of Texas. So this was the day when American military authority was exerted over Texas and the last American slaves were freed. It's a funny kind of day, Juneteenth, in American culture. African Americans are very well aware of it. I dare say that many, many white Americans are not. For the president to go to Oklahoma on Juneteenth to give a speech, a political rally, to begin the campaign season once again, it's questionable whether he knows the significance of this date. It is hard to believe that nobody on his staff does. So this is bound to bring more controversy, just as the site of the rally does. He'll be going to Tulsa, Oklahoma, a place where 100 years ago there was a major race riot and attack on what was called the Black Wall Street, one of the most successful commercial areas in the country for black Americans, a part of Tulsa where there were many successful businesses burned to the ground by rampaging white rioters who also killed a large number of people.
Our reporter in Washington, Suarez, there with the latest. Thank you.